And when I feel that you are ready, a bigger world is what I'll show. All you need to do is feel my heart and dance to the beat. Ah, you have to be able to dance and feel the heat. Are you ready to explore this life? If you're ready, then you'll be just fine. It doesn't matter if your mind is shy. All that matters is that you'll be just fine. Your body, don't look at nobody. Get into the spirit and enjoy the rhythm. Shake it to the left, shake it to the right. Move it all around and respect the music. Your body, don't look at nobody. Get into the spirit and enjoy the rhythm. Shake it to the left, shake it to the right. Move it all around and respect the music. Your body, don't look at nobody. Get into the spirit and enjoy the rhythm. Shake it to the left, shake it to the right. Move it all around.
Caravelle 2.6 Essa pop F745 Epazamisa Puxa aí, passa checho Esse quem os coros Esputo Mega Max Esse Mussuzinha Imozinha Mamacita Where you at when you think that niggas Mamacita Where you at when you think that niggas I say Mamacita Where you at when you think that niggas I say Mamacita Where you at when you think that niggas Namnanda funa stress
Stress, dá stress.
Ipuze moyeni sikuze chess
Chess.
Amacherantswe baphetha amapress All over, address to impress
That's what's that.
Imini oros, pethu pulas
Stay education.
Tiko bless, kulaba bathanda umnandi 745
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nub. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on...
Yo, yo, yo. We back at it again. It is Thursday, 12/22/2016. Still testing out some mic functions. I don't know, it's almost like I hear echo. Hopefully not. As we test out stuff, we're going to see what works and what doesn't work. Right now, sciatic nerve kind of bothered me a little bit, so I'm kind of sitting on my ball instead of in my upper chair. So we'll continue to work on that to see where we get from there. hopefully we're going to start encouraging people to go to our Ustream channel and watch the show live, and also join our chat room. Let me see if I can show that to you. As you see there, if you go to Ustream TV and type in the show, you'll see a picture of me with a little African continent, the red, black, and green over it. You can create an account. The account is free, and you can see all the other shows that also happen on the channel, like the Corey Holcomb Show, and pretty much so many people have an account out there. Or you can log in and chat anonymously just by clicking on the chat button. But we want to promote that more, so I just wanted to show you that real quick. Tonight we're talking about, I've been telling everybody about the Village Report. It's nothing new, but it may be new to some people. So since it may be new to some people, I'm just kind of going to put it out there, and you'll probably hear different variations of it. This is the variation that over the years I've noticed and made note of things growing up in the inner city community, and what I saw and what could be the outcome. The main thing is we would have to come together on it regardless, and what we're dealing with now in society is we're not together. But before we get into that, Black Lives Matter launched a site yesterday, and it's for finding black businesses in your areas. It doesn't have a whole lot of information out there quite yet because it just launched. So I don't know how they filter data in to start off with, but I went ahead and put my information in there, and probably hasn't picked up mine yet. I'm not sure what the background working is, but I'm suggesting anyone with a black-owned business to go out to this site and register your business online. If you look up in the corner, you see it says beta, which basically means they're still testing it. So right now, I was able to just type in Chicago, Illinois, and lifestyle, and it just brought up one company. I could try other ones. You would hope to think that as you typed in the different numbers, that it would give you some type of indication. Like right now, it's saying no, nothing found. We can try all. It still says nothing found. I'm not even sure where 60650 is at. But supposedly you're supposed to be able to type in your location, and it'll go and track down all these black businesses. Since it's still in the beta right now, I'm not sure how accurate it is, but I kind of wanted to put it out there. So if you do have a business, we all can start testing this type of stuff together and see what it gets us. I mean, like I said, I typed in 60653, and it shows me one business that's registered. So this is probably gonna, if we continue to spread the word and register our own businesses, this is probably gonna grow. I'm gonna check back tomorrow. It may be a 24-hour turnaround before anything pops in, but this leads into what we want to talk about tonight, which is the Village Project. And I've basically been writing this down and everything, and putting it together, and hopefully maybe next year we can have some discussion events or put something together on a community level. If anybody is any community groups or anything like that, I'm interested in talking and joining in the scene. It's going to be what's called a grassroots level movement to make that change. We got Donald Trump coming in for the next 4 years, so whether it's a small group of us or a larger group, everybody's saying, well, this is going to make us come together. Then okay, here's the opportunity to come together. You can always hit me at my email at the show 1965 at yahoo.com and drop off information. Not going to ask anybody to do any information online. With all that being said, let me put the Village Project up on the screen here. Like I said, I'm still messing around with my microphone, trying to make sure that we get all that. And actually, I'm probably going to move it over toward this side. That way I don't have to go back and forth as much. And hopefully it doesn't affect the sound too much. And technology is great when it works. So what we have here is an incomplete project because it's always got room for growth. And the old adage is it takes a village. And with that being said, since it seems like all our villages and cultural connections were destroyed here, and when we did try this concept years ago, like fresh out of slavery, in so many towns like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood, Florida, and other places where our communities were destroyed, it's like no one ever jumped back out and said, hey, let's try this again. Supposedly we're in a different place in time. We're 80, 90 years removed from those situations, and we made these great strides. At least this is what I'm told. We made these great strides to try this again, because Trump says he's going to take care of America and then he's going to take care of the blacks. It kind of sounds like we really weren't included in that situation, and it's up to us to do as so many other groups do. So don't allow people to tell you that you're a racist because you want to do something with your people. It's not racist when they do it, so how can it be racist when we do it? You know, I try to reiterate this all the time. We've been playing in this game with them for so long, and they've been dealing from the bottom for so long. It seems normal, but it's not normal, and it's so many of us have gotten caught up into the system because they say, well, I'm successful. You're successful in their system. A lot of times you're not successful within your own community, your own thing. And when we see everything that we see out here, we got a lot of work to do. And one of those things is community kind of means like taking responsibility for where you live. When we moved to the Washington Park homes, I was 16, and we kind of lived in the neighborhood, and we knew everybody in the neighborhood, so it was kind of a community there. I grew up off of South Parkway on Calumet, and we had a community there for what it was worth. And then we moved over here, and I mean, the conditions were, for me, that was unbelievable. It was like a culture shock. And me and my grandmother were standing on the porch, and she says, it's not the place, it's the people. And it's up to us to direct the people on what they should be doing. So my grandmother started this kind of like an organization for the building, and had conversations with everybody in the building on what it was going to take for us to band together and change the conditions of the building around. And within 1 year, it was changed around. Where there was no grass, there was now grass. We mopped concrete. I had never heard of mopping concrete, but she insisted that we mop the concrete. She insisted that we not allow people to come into the building and do what they want to do. You're not going to piss in the stairwell. You're not going to gamble down at the bottom. You're not going to just hang around here. That might have sounded strict to a lot of people, but that was some of the necessary things that had to be done in order to establish a foundation and a safe environment for us who were the kids that lived in that building, So we could have an opportunity. Without the proper structure in the community, then everything's going to go wrong. We often talk about resources in communities. One of the biggest problems with a lot of our communities is we don't control the resources. Most of the stores in our neighborhood aren't our stores. Most of the people who are able to obtain some type of financial status take their talents and move on to somewhere else. So one of the main things in the neighborhood is how are we going to be successful in our own neighborhood if all we do is support other businesses? It's got to be a part of reclaiming the businesses, and some people will hear this and say, well, I don't think that's fair to reclaim the business on that level. When I say reclaim the business, we stop supporting all those businesses in the neighborhood. It's chess, not checkers. Basically meaning, I'm not going to support your business. I'm not going to support your business. I'm not going to support your business. Because this is the only way that you get the space back from those outsiders who are taken from your neighborhood in the first place. And then you're able to establish black businesses in those same spots. Call it racist, call it whatever you want to. Why is it racist when we do it, but not racist when they do it? You're not finna go open a black business in their neighborhood. You're not about to do it. So, what's good for the goose, right? This is a process that, 6 to 10 months. If a business isn't collecting any money, they're gonna be like, we gotta get out of here. We're not getting no money. Now we'll touch back on that because there is a part in here where if we do decide that we like this business needs to be given back to the community in some way, hiring people in the community. A lot of these places come in and of course they're going to hire their relatives and things like that. That doesn't help us. You're taking away from the community. You're not putting nothing back in. So in order for you to exist in this community, we're going to need half your staff to be from the community. These are things that will have to be done. We need some type of resource community centers in our neighborhoods. When I was growing up, we had a few community centers, job help centers. I worked signing people up for Job Corps. I worked at the King Community Center. There were places that you can go, and I don't know if the financial budget and everything that we used to have doesn't exist anymore on the same level. But you need this resource in the neighborhood in order for us to have people in place that can show us paths to establishing businesses, getting business loans, and then putting those businesses in our neighborhoods. Those type of businesses that we need. We need people that have an inline on education instead of complaining about how bad our schools are. Let's make sure we get the best black teachers to help with our children. I'm a firm believer in, blacks teaching blacks. I've had experienced much racism in the school system as it is set up now. And, as often I would say what they're doing to me, they would not dare do to a white student. We need people to help us with job searches. Like I said, I work for signing people up for Job Corps. We need people in the neighborhood or a community center or a resource center that's giving us information on jobs for people that are trying to work. We got to make a statement to the people. and that takes a lot, but it's a necessary piece. And it says either you are about the community, or you must lead the community. There's no room for unproductive people. If all you want to do is tear down the community, slang drugs and all that, then you got to go. Because what we're trying to offer you with the community center and things is resources where you don't have to sell drugs, where you don't have to tear down your people, where you can be productive and be helpful and grow a community. If you can't get that through your head, then you are of no value to us. And we will establish neighborhood watches and make it impossible for you to do your illegal activity. If your whole family is involved in that activity, then your whole family has to go. We can no longer sit around and digest the nonsense that we see. Everybody knows the shooters. Everybody knows the drug dealers. Everybody knows what's going down. The status quo has to stop. It has to stop. If that means you have to have weekly meetings where everybody's invited, dope dealers included, hey, this is what we're trying to do. We have to get the financial institutions, mainly banks and churches in our neighborhood. Churches are probably the most financially sound business in the neighborhood. We have to get to a point where the banks that are in our neighborhood, we have to support them, but at the same time, we have to demand support from them. Don't take our money and then don't help us to get these loans to open our businesses. We're not trying to help you to become part of the American banking social system. We're trying to have you do something different and support us. Same with the churches. The churches has money to do these programs. Sometimes you have to say, yeah, that dancing program is nice, but you know what would be nicer? A job search program to help these people get on their feet. Back to what I was saying earlier, we only support the institutions that support the community. So that includes the banks, that includes the stores, that includes the churches. We only support institutions that support the community. This is what everybody does. This is what the Jewish community does. This is what the Chinese community does, the Polish community, all these other communities, the Latin communities. Everybody uses this concept and nobody calls them on it. We got to get rid of that thinking that we had and develop a new thinking going into 2017 for the next 4 years. We need to develop this in the next 4 years, and don't worry about what Donald Trump's going to do for us. We list our own demands, what we want from this government. The only thing he can do for us is, hey, we looking for that reparation money. I don't want to meet with you about nothing else. This or this, like Jim Brown and all these other people. There's no reason for us to meet. There's one demand on the table, and that demand should be for every president. We want reparations in this country, period. And whether that reparation is free school for 250 years, that works for me too. Because the education is going to be your foundation part to do whatever. So if I can get free education to become a doctor, then so be it. Oh, that's too wide, it's so many people, so many mixes, whatever. If you would have paid it off when you were supposed to pay it off, we wouldn't be dealing with how you're going to pay it off. We have to create funding for children programs and education, meaning the children are the future. We have to give them a safe environment. We have to take control of teaching our own children. If you're educated in the system of America, a lot of times in black neighborhoods, you're just not going to get it. If you live in a poor neighborhood, you're probably going to have poor teachers. And that's just the way it is. So we spend all this money putting our kids in these other schools. Why don't we invest in certain schools in our area and seek out? I don't believe in no such thing as there's no qualified black teachers to fill these positions. What happens a lot, there's no qualified teachers that are going to put up with our bull crap and follow our racist directives, and that's what makes them unqualified. Got to build better relations between the church and the community, and most of the churches do a good job of reaching out to the people. I don't know if they recruit the people, but they reach out to the people. And everybody, most of us are brought up in church in America, so that shouldn't be a big jump of developing outreach programs. At every church should have some type of outreach program that helps to foster some of this thing. Back on education, it's the same with education, placing our children in position to be successful. Not pushing them toward this system that has us all screwed up right now, but giving them directives. The Japanese, when they were defeated in the war, they were not allowed to have an army after that. And most of their infrastructure was destroyed. So what did they do? They came up with a plan and said, we're still going to wind up on top here. They created directives that said, you are going to be a doctor. You're going to be a scientist. You're going to be this. You're going to be this. And now they're one of the leading powers around the world in technological developments. That basically means we have to create directives for our kids where your success path says you go here, preferably to a black institution, take your financial aid or your money and put it toward that black institution instead of this mainstream institution. Then all these black institutions not suffering. Even with our athletes, if we're not sending them to these schools and we're sending them to a HBC school, because we're basically sending them for education. If you're good, they'll hear about you and they'll come, and then the TV time and the money and everything will follow. I don't know why people just don't get this. If the NBA is 85% black, the NFL is 80% black. If there were other leagues that were owned by blacks, if we went and just saw those games and weren't going to those games, then the money would follow. So there's all types of ways, but once you go out here and you become successful, whether that's through the educational process or through a sport process, you have to come back. You have to give some type of support to the community. I'm glad we see LeBron out there now doing his thing, sending people off to college. All of them need to be doing that. You don't need to be out at the club popping bottles, spending $38,000, $40,000 on one night. Help some people out. Do some things. Wade's back in Chicago. He's trying to do that. And I'm not saying that people aren't doing it. We need more people to do it. Change the mindset. Change the history here. We got to teach our history from our viewpoint. This is the only way. Our kids are so Americanized now. They're in that same trap, and we can't blame our forefathers because they did what they had to do to survive, and they educated us in the way that they felt we needed to do to survive. It's becoming very clear now with the election of Donald Trump. America is white. I mean, it's great again. That wasn't really a fraud and slip. That was intentional. This man's programs is not going to be designed for us. We have to educate the community. And whether that's some type of of center where people that do get jobs can leave their kids, and we can teach their kids on like a preschool level or an after school level, or a safe environment where they can come, where they don't have to deal with the bad influences on the street, while at the same time we're trying to clean up those bad experiences on the street. So the whole neighborhood would become a safe environment. You got to maintain the community. You got to keep it clean. Like I say, you got to protect it from those, because those people that are selling drugs, they're not helping nobody. They're the same people that are shooting and killing. The exact same one. So how can you tell me, no, don't get rid of them? No, they have to go. Now, when you go to jail and you come back to the community, that same resource center needs to be able to reach out to you and say, hey, brother, you made a mistake. You done your time. We got this community thing going on now. Can we get your support? Because we like to support you in your transition of getting back into society in the right way. Don't go back into the same society has basically conditioned you to be in that situation you were in that put you in jail in the first place. We got to promote kids staying in school. It's no reason that we should have such a high dropout rate. We have to support them through college. When they get that first job, we have to talk to them about financing, saving money. And we have to get some of this money from the legislative body. So if Donald Trump want to write us a check to do our own thing, don't tell us how to spend the money. We want to spend the money the way we want to spend it, the way we deem it as a community to spend it. And like I say, this is a very large thing, because for Black America, this would have to be done across the map. And we all know we got people that feel successful in this society, and they are successful. Like I say, there's plenty of individual success cycles going around. And they don't want no parts of any Black agenda. I'm happy here. I take care of my family. I don't want nothing to do with this Black stuff. You're gonna mess up my money. You're gonna mess things up. I don't know if I skipped a slide here, but this part here is talking about conflict resolutions in the neighborhood. Here's my theory. Poverty is an economic situation with social ramifications. Basically saying, you put a bunch of broke people together, and if the wealth isn't distributed, it's really not wealth, it's just perceived wealth. You got everybody struggling to get ahead. It's going to cause some problems. So that resource center also has to become a conflict resolution center. It's got to be some outreach groups. Maybe the men in the neighborhood can stand up and have a meeting with those parties that's beefing. What are you beefing about? And if is what you're beefing about concerning the community? Because there's no beef about you not selling drugs in the community against anybody in the community, because the whole community must stand against you on that type of nonsense. So that's not gonna fly. So everybody's got to be able to come to the table and leave inspired that whatever the council has come together and decided that this is what we're going to do to move forward. Maybe this group gets this and this group gets this. But there will be no supporting of the violence and the nonsense. There's got to be a neighborhood watch, and there's got to be the bottom line. Look, I got a trick on you, brother, sister, whoever's doing it. If you take a rotten apple and you stick it in a basket of apples and leave it there, eventually that apple will start to rot away at everything. And that's how a lot of this got started. People not caring, people not stepping up, people letting people do what they want to do. That's how ghettos were created. Then those of us that were able to get out, you know, of course it makes sense that you don't want to raise your kids in an environment that is detrimental to their lives, that they can't go outside and play. Going to school is a problem. These are all situations that we have to address. And we have to address them on such a serious notion. There's no outside force that's going to come in and fix this. That's why we got 750 murders in Chicago. I'm sure if we go across the state or the country, we're probably easily at 10,000 murders. Easily. In the black community. So no outside force is going to come in and help this. Just like when Trump was elected president, the prison stock went up. CNA and I think the other one is CCNA are the two biggest complexes for housing prisoners. They got all the contracts. Corporations are investing in prisons. It's big money. So they got to have a supply. And most of that supply is going to come from us. And unless we change, unless we do things on a different level. So that presentation was just the basis of what I've been working on, and we're going to try to grow that. And like I say, next year we're going to try to have some forums or something, because it's got to start somewhere. Maybe we can get an alderman or two, or go to an alderman's office and sit and have a conversation. I mean, I do know of aldermen who are open to some things, but you got to remember when you're in the political system, you're not going to be able to do a lot of things because your hands are going to be tied on a lot of things. And that's what makes the difference in the community. But when you got aldermen, they control a lot of the resources in the community, and those are the ones that are supposed to work with the people to get these things done. So it basically definitely is going to have to go through the alderman office, and that alderman cannot have his nose in the mayor's butt, because he's not going to get anything done that way. But the political process and the taking of votes to push your agenda, where groups are like, I'm going against you because we can't get anything we need in this community, so why should we support you? We'll make sure you're out on the next election. And you usually hate that, because these elections are 4 to 6 years apart here. So you have to do this prior to the election. That'll be another part of, we need lawyers, politicians for this to work, because somebody's going to have to deal with the administrative monster that's out there that doesn't want this to happen. We got one more show for the new year, or I may do a show, I may not do a show. Like I say, getting ready for the new year, new thoughts and things, and trying to bring a quality show to everyone. Can be time consuming. Hopefully my sciatic nerve and things are gonna clear up a little more, and we'll be able to give you what you need to go into 2017 on a positive note. Love, peace, soul. We out of here.
Mamacita.